Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about startup with electric vehicle prototype development. In the beginning I will share information about the idea, about the market trends, also about the possible impact of COVID-19 on sales in the automotive industry. And in the second part I will describe the business model briefly and also talk about required expenses and possible profit for this startup. So let's begin. And if we are talking about electric vehicles, it makes sense to show up the difference with combustion engine cars. And first of all, it is only electricity power usage. There are no cylinders with oil or petroleum fuel and no combustion cycles inside of the engine. That makes the design of electric vehicle simpler from perspective of moved parts. On the other hand, there is a common requirement because power unit which produces a torque for both types of engine is going to warm up under load, and that means the cooling system needed in both electric and combustion engines. Simpler construction of a power unit with electric principle does not require a periodical change of oil for engine or itself or a gearbox or other liquids, oil filter, mechanical parts, etc. In case of the proper design, maintenance of electric vehicle shall be reduced. The second point is about the possibility to use recuperation of the energy, which increases disc brakes life and also helps to collect energy during braking or on downhills. And then this energy can be used for driving. This option, well known last 10 years in road cars and usually used in hybrid vehicles. From my personal experience, I remember a situation when I with my friends had a trip in Norway, and in some period of our trip I realized that after 20 minutes of moving, our car does not consume energy at all, and from both combustion and electric engines. Moreover, the battery was being charged at about 30%, and as we had been on the downhill. This energy recuperation feature is really important in case of electric vehicles because it could increase distance coverage. If we talk about market rivals, there are a lot of models at the market, but almost all of them have weaknesses. Another important point is to focus on the specific market and design products according to clients' requirements. And during the development stage, all significant mistakes on the existing market will be taken into account. About air clearness and emission problem. It is important to keep air clean and fresh, but it is almost impossible when all people are using combustion engine road cars. These cars are consuming oxygen and producing CO2 and other harmful gases. By default, and for sure it makes negative impact on the air clearness. This negative impact become even worse in case with big cities. Facts about global warming and climate change gradually changes life of the people in the ocean shores countries in worse sight. Therefore, some cities could disappear because of the growth of the seawater level. All these things together point people to think about alternatives with power usage from the global perspective. And electric vehicles could help in this case. About the market share of electric vehicles, in this picture, visible that almost every year the percentage of the electric cars is increasing. An important point is that 2020 is not included in this diagram, but there are already negative forecasts for all types of the cars in the automotive industry, and the main reason is the impact of COVID-19, where many manufacturers decreased their production or even stop it. But anyway, part of the electric cars is at the same level or even increasing. Prices for petroleum are almost all time changing, and related fuel types respectively, like gasoline or diesel. Price for electricity more constant and usually cheaper. especially in terms of city car usage. Maybe not all cities have good infrastructure and as a charging system or repair services, but each year infrastructure has been improving. Somebody can say that we already have Tesla Model S or Tesla Model 3 at the market, and why we need more similar models. The answer is that Tesla mostly designed for American people. In case with Ucar startup, it could be a European market-oriented car. And development and research, according to the business model defined in this presentation, planned in Ukraine or in Europe. About overall costs and why it could be a profitable startup. The main point here is to use lower local prices for both materials and the electoral property of development. If we will check the salary expectations of software developer guys from Europe and the United States, it will be much more expensive than in Ukraine. The same about materials. For example, metal or plastic production can be cheaper in Ukraine. In this slide, shown some points about principles to achieve desired results. Some of this I already mentioned at the beginning, but from my perspective, most important point here is to use agile principles for the development process. And why? Because it is very important to understand the market requirement for the successful products, especially in case with concurrency with Korean, German, or Japanese models. In case if we talk about the business model and how it could be interesting to an investor, according to calculations on this slide shown some numbers about development time for prototype, price, and minimal count of cars to be sold to achieve profitable situation. Investment purpose is not only purchasing components and assembling it. It's also about software development, testing, and certification expenses. In the scope of development of the car, a prototype required 2 years. And first is about powertrain development, second for other work related to car body, interior or exterior. Then the full stack of tests and certification could be started. At the first year of electric vehicle prototype development required to build up a sustainable powertrain with consideration of mistakes of the modern existing electric vehicles at the market, and whole year, each month, every sprint expected to provide an increment of the product for powertrain prototype, where investor could check what was really added and how construction behaves. It is really important to show up some incremental results of work where investor or possible clients or experts could provide an opinion for the development team. All expenses in that first year period divided into 3 groups like hardware, software, and storage. Here shown hardware expenses items with their values. We can see information about possible price for battery development, inverters, engine, chassis, brakes, suspension, spare parts, and also tools, cables, connectors, and needed materials. Under the development team, I mean the group of people who are involved in the work for the prototype development process and on a daily basis. Here are shown development team salary expenses. We see that salary could be on $1,500 per month, and we have 7 teammates and 12 months per year. So, and overall costs, overall expense for this team is per year is on the level of $114,000. And as a conclusion, overall expenses for POWERTRAIN development shown here. We see some expenses for software, hardware, and storage. Here is about for team for software development. This about hardware and storage, and overall expense for this all sum. About expectations and measurements. At the end of the first development year, expected to have workable powertrain with all required electronics on board. Term workable means that powertrain shall be able to be driving on the track from 100 kilometers up to 300 kilometers in a single run while the battery will be charged. That is about the expected result for the first year of work. So powertrain should be in workable state. To define relationships between the development team and stakeholders or investor, better to use Scrum Agile framework and why Scrum to avoid misunderstandings or conflicts and apply worldwide used practice to software development. That means daily meetings, sprint reviews, sprint retrospective, planning meetings, and it's really important in daily work. Also better to be aligned with automotive industry and automotive SPICE, SPICE, it also named, as a standard could be used to achieve required and recognizable quality. This standard could help with measurements for quality and definition of allowed quality. In the second year of the development, planned development is car body, headlights and rear lights, and other work related to interior and exterior. Also testing and like all prototype together with all parts together. The important stage for the car body development is a verification from aerodynamics and the design perspective. Also expected aerodynamics tests. Lighting configuration is in general means head and rear lights, all of them expected to make with LED lamps only. And as a conclusion, the second year is going to be much more expensive and much more people shall be involved here. And finally, approximate expenses visible here for this year. As we can see, it's much more expensive in comparison with first year. Also, there is some list of tests which is required to achieve needed quality from perspective of software and all prototype together. Here on this page, we can see on this slide, we can see some interesting articles in the electric vehicles topic. So if you're interested in this topic, you can read these articles. And I think that's it about the presentation for electric vehicle prototype development. I hope this video has been not too boring for you. And thanks for watching and listening. In case of suggestion or possible interest to this idea, please contact me via YouTube or Startup Network services. Also, if you would like to leave comments, feel free to do it. It will be interesting to read about different points of view for this idea. And thank you very much, and bye-bye.